What if I told you this North Hills property could be more than just a home? It could be a multi-unit income generator. With nearly 19,000 square feet of land, this North Hills home for sale is a true fixer, but the potential is massive. In this North Hills home tour, we'll explore how much it really costs to remodel, what it takes to add an ADU or even multiple units, and why this lot might be your ticket to long-term equity. If you've been looking for value and vision, this is the one. Stay tuned at the end of this video while I explain to you why on a fixer it makes sense to do a home inspection up front. Let's check it out. Scott Himmelstein with the Scott Himmelstein Group. Welcome to our newest listing at 9530 Lemona Avenue in North Hills, California. This 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 1,408 square feet of living space, sits on an 18,650 square foot lot built in 1934. So in today's video, we're going to show you the whole home. Not only that, we're going to walk you through what it would cost to remodel a home and give you some ideas of what prices are right now here in Southern California, and some ideas and explain the potential for you of what this house may actually be able to provide to you, especially if you're looking to build an ADU. I'm going to show you a feature of this house that most houses here in Southern California do not have. If you're an investor, you definitely want to stick around till the end of this video. So today we're in North Hills, California, which is 21 miles north of downtown Los Angeles, very adjacent to the 405 freeway. We're currently in between Lassen and Plummer right now, and we are east of Sepulveda Boulevard. It gives you an idea, and this neighborhood really famous for its extremely large lots. So one of the things that I love about North Hills is that, one, I think you get a lot more bang for your buck out here, number one. And number two, there's some really great finds out here, including one of my favorites, Big Arch Tacos. This is one of my must stops every time I'm here in North Hills. One of the best breakfast burritos in town, and they're always set up at Devonshire and Sepulveda behind the Bank of America building, and there's always a line, and it moves fast. It's some of the best breakfast burritos that you're gonna find in LA. So let's start with the front of the house. You have an electric gate on the left side of the home that allows you to walk towards the circular driveway, and the circular driveway is going to be really important when I explain to you why you're going to need that, especially if you decide to add an ADU later down the road if you use it as an investment property. So you have this really nicely landscaped and this just oversized lot, and so much potential here. Now I just want to show you the outside right here. Maybe if you decide you didn't like this color and you wanted to paint the exterior, you're probably looking at about $6,500 to $8,000 to be able to paint the entire exterior of the home. Now before we step inside, I do want to show you to the right, you do have this oversized patio area, right? So you could convert this into like an RV space, right? If you do, and this kind of leads you to the backyard, and trust me, you're going to want to see the backyard towards the end of this video. You got your nice orange tree, right? So much history when it comes to agriculture in the North San Fernando Valley. This whole area used to just be filled with orange groves. Now there is solar on this house. They don't have a lot of panels on it, but it is owner-owned solar, so you don't have to have a transfer fee. There's no lease. You'll be able to enjoy the benefits of having a solar system on your home. All right, let's go inside to this home. Okay, going inside, before we kind of get into the main portion of the house and the interior here, again, we're going to show you every nook and cranny. Just a quick peek in that room right here. So according to the seller, we don't believe this room is permitted, right? So I'm sure they probably added it at some point down the road. So this home has been in the family for decades. And so now it's time for the next owner to take possession of this home and customize it the way they like to do it. So we're gonna get into customizing this home as we walk through this home right now. So This is where the original front door was located, and this would take you into the living room. So here in the living room, right, they got the carpet. You can see the stains, right? The carpet's really worn, right? And obviously that's going to be one of the things that people replace. And I can tell you from doing a lot of our homes when it comes to the Concierge Plus program, you could basically give me a home and I can tell you what the exact pricing, almost to a T, is going to be. So for something like this, right, if you're looking at replacing flooring, let's just say with a luxury vinyl plank, which is probably something a lot of people would go with, especially if you're going to have this as a rental, you can get some really middle of the road luxury vinyl plank flooring. And I'd say installation and the flooring itself, you're going to be looking at about $6.25 a foot. I'd say is probably about the going rate. Now, obviously, if you put something in more expensive, and you could easily do that, there's definitely a way you would probably be looking at $10 to $12 a square foot. So that could add up if you're looking at a house that's almost 1,500 square feet of living space. Now, if it was me, I would probably, maybe you just reglaze the tile white, right, or a different color, or you can be able to customize that as well. But you're probably going to be painting in here too, right? So we're going to check out the first bedroom off the living room. And look, like most people don't really like, the checkerboard flooring. And that brings me to a funny story that years ago, I sold a house in Northridge, in the very south part of Northridge. And the house, the whole flooring was checker floor tile flooring. And I told the seller that, probably a bachelor is going to buy this house. And in fact, in that house, the homeowner actually had a spa in the middle of the living room. And sure enough, a bachelor actually bought that house. So again, if you're going to probably replace this, right, linoleum, you're going to probably replace it with the luxury vinyl plank flooring, and then you're going to paint. So to paint the interior of a house of about 1,500 square feet, you're probably looking at about $6,000 to $8,000, again, depending on what type of paint you're going to use. So something to keep in mind. So I'd say for a house this size, because you got stucco that you're dealing with too, and any drywall repairs that you may have to do, you're probably looking on the exterior about $7,500 to $8,000 also. So now we're in the dining room. Again, you can see the carpet that you would obviously replace here, right? And these are just cosmetic things, very, very simple to fix. But look on the ceiling. You already have LED lighting, and most likely someone's going to take out this light fixture here. You can put in a $40, $50 light fixture from Lowe's or Home Depot, and you know what? You'd probably give it a little bit of a modern look. So I think just replacing the flooring, right, was going to obviously give it a facelift, as does paint. And those are the two things that I probably say almost always you get your return on investment. So my rule of thumb is you put $1 in, you have to have $2 coming back to you. And I think usually, typically, paint and flooring, that is always the case when it comes to doing stuff before the sale of the house. All right, let's go over into the kitchen right here. So in this kitchen, right, take a look at the cabinetry, right? It's not bad, but I think, most people are going to come and remodel it. Again, someone's going to take out this flooring. And, if you're going to have it as a rental, cheaper probably just to put the same flooring from end to end throughout the entire house, put in some luxury vinyl plank flooring. And then you're going to take out the tile counters here. You're going to put in a new sink basin, replace the cabinetry. You're going to paint, right? And all of that probably is going to run you about $18,000 to $20,000. To be honest, you put in some quartz countertops, and for the quartz countertops, you're looking about $450 a piece right now. For a slab, you're probably looking at about $1,500. So sometimes it makes more sense to buy the slab, especially if you're going to be using that material and you have room in the hallway and whatnot, or in the bathrooms. You want to keep that theme continued. You just want to be able to save money. That's a great way to go about it also. All right, now let's take a look at this range right here. This is an electric range. So if it was me, I would plumb the gas into this house. So this is on a slab, so it'll be slightly more expensive to be able to do that. But you can still definitely do it. If it was me, I would get rid of this, right? And let's back out here so you can see this. I would get rid of the double oven, especially if you're going to have this as a non-owner occupied home. I would get rid of the double oven, put in a freestanding range, and then you'd be able to have more cabinet space. Basically, you'd be able to have some type of pantry here. So what's nice is you already have a stainless steel refrigerator, so you as the landlord actually don't have to worry about that. And you know what, we'll have to talk about that on another video, but they're talking right now in the state of California, making it a requirement for landlords to provide a refrigerator here in the state of California if you actually own a rental property. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, so the one good thing is, you may have noticed it throughout the house, is that you do have new windows throughout, right? So this house is really clean. So most of it's just really cosmetic, depending on what you decide to do. Hey guys, Scott Himmelstein with the Scott Himmelstein Group. All right, hope you're enjoying this home tour so far. Stay tuned till the end of this video. We're gonna walk you through the cost of if you decide to build an ADU or add additional units in the backyard. I'm gonna walk you through those costs as well. And then of course, like we talked about at the beginning of the video, I'm gonna tell you for a house like this that's a fixer, if you're the homeowner and you're a seller, it might make more sense to actually do a home inspection, a pre-home inspection up front to save you a lot of headaches down the road. All right, if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. Love answering a lot of your questions. A lot of you have come to us with different real estate questions about buying, selling, and investing here in the greater Los Angeles area. And we love just to be able to answer the questions and help you guys out. Feel free to make a time with us, to make an appointment, and we'll gladly answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so we're still in the kitchen. And so as we're in the kitchen, you do have one of your bathrooms right off the kitchen. Right, so originally, I think when this was built, it was probably just a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. So at some point, the seller added this bathroom. So it's somewhere down the road. So it is a smaller bathroom, not gonna lie to you about that. Now, this one's actually in pretty good condition. This one looks a lot newer, but if you were to remodel a bathroom, you're probably looking at about $12,000 to $15,000. Now that could go up to $20,000 if it's a larger bathroom, right? And you maybe got a separate tub and spa, and you know, it's a huge area where you got multiple vanities, right? You know, that could easily be more, and it obviously depending on what your finishes are, right? So if you have a porcelain tile finish on your flooring or travertine or whatever it may be, you know what, certain finishes are gonna be more expensive than others. But I would say, in general, I would say you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 to be able to remodel a bathroom currently here in the greater Los Angeles area. Finally, leaving the kitchen once and for all, and before we show you the other bedrooms, we're gonna show you this bathroom. So this is the other bathroom. This was the original main bathroom of this home. This is a shower and tub enclosure. Now really at the end of the day, maybe you replace the vanity and you paint this bathroom, but there really isn't a lot to do in here, especially if you're gonna keep it in as a rental. I would probably change the lighting at the very top and probably just put one light fixture. But other than that, this bathroom is pretty much ready to go. All right, so now we're gonna go into this bedroom. Now this bedroom is right off the bathroom. And obviously the first thing someone's gonna do here, unless you like old dark carpeting, the first thing that you're going to be able to do is you're gonna be removing this, and you'll probably put in, you know, whatever type of flooring like we discussed earlier. So one thing that's good about here is that you can see the windows, right? We were talking about the windows that you have, newer windows here. And the reason why I like to talk about that and discuss it is that windows really these days, you know, for a normal size window is about $850, and that includes the installation and any repairs. And what I mean by any repairs, you know, when you replace the windows, you know, especially if you're talking about older windows, a lot of times you're gonna have to make stucco and drywall repairs. So as a result of that, really you have to kind of plan for that if you're replacing older windows. So that's very typical, and so you kind of have to plan ahead for that. So that's something to keep in mind. So here, right, this is the other bedroom. You have this parquet wood flooring, and you can see the newer windows once again. They have that old school 1930s, 1940s closet here. And then, you know, there's not a ton of a closet space, but you do got that extra storage at the very bottom there. So you can take a look at that. And then also take a look at the doors. So if you wanted to modernize the doors, right, I'd say right now the doors kind of average about $400 a piece, including installation. Now again, you can get some really high-end doors that are much more expensive than that, but especially if you're looking at a rental, that's probably what it's going to run you, including the installation, about $400 each. So going back into the second bedroom right here, look at the recessed lighting. So a lot of times you come into the older houses and they don't have any type of recessed lighting. So, even if you want to put the LED lights in, the lights are going to run you about $600 to $700 for about 6 lights. So, if you were to take these out, put in the newer LED lights, recessed lighting, that's what it would run you. You could figure about $600 to $700 for 6 LED lights, and this room will be brighter than the sun itself, I promise you. This is the room that I was telling you about that the seller doesn't believe it's permitted. So what would I do with this room? So as you take a look around, right, you got the tile flooring. Now you can really see in frame the newer windows that this room has and that the house has throughout these dual pane windows. But if it was me, what I would do is I would get rid of these stairs right here, get rid of those, seal up where this door is right here, and basically make it a primary bedroom, right, that has its own bathroom. And then now this would be your fourth bedroom. So now that you would have 4 bedrooms, right, just think about what you'd be able to gain, especially if you're having this as a rental property, the fact that you now have a 4-bedroom home that would have 3 bathrooms, right? So I think that's the route that I would go to be able to take advantage of the space of this home. So outside you can see the size of this 18,650 square foot lot. So obviously this neighborhood known for having very large lot sizes, and so you really have the opportunity, and there's so much potential to take advantage of this lot. So let's get into it right here. So first you have this detached garage. It's approximately about 400 square feet, and so you can easily make that into a detached ADU if you wanted to, or guest unit, however you want to be able to set it up. And then over here to your right, look, I would put the detached ADU, accessory dwelling unit, over here. Now remember that the detached ADU is limited to a maximum total floor area of 1,200 square feet. If you had an attached ADU, and we'll get into that in a minute, it can be up to 50% of the existing living area. So if you were looking at adding to the back of the house another unit too, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea, just adding to the back of the house, well, here you would be able to do that. It would be about 740 square feet would be the max you would be able to add on to that. If it was me, I'd probably be somewhere in that like 500-600 range. Now, what does it cost to build all of this? For the structure that's already here, the detached garage, it would probably cost you about $60,000 to $70,000, depending on the finishes right now. Right now to build, I'd say for stuff like this, you're probably looking at about $300 to $350 a square foot, depending on where you are in LA County. Now that could easily change, especially in light of the fires and what could possibly happen with the tariff situation. But as of right now, I'd say for the most part, you're looking at about $300 to $350 a square foot to actually build. So if you were to build something big out here, you're easily looking somewhere between $250,000, $300,000. And again, that really comes down to what you're gonna have as part of your finishes, right? So the higher end your finishes, obviously the more expensive it is going to come out to be. But at the end of the day, you'll be able to ask a little bit more for rent if you have higher end finishes, and people definitely appreciate that. So like I showed you before, because you have this long driveway and the circular driveway, it's absolutely set up perfectly for you. Because even if you are gonna live in the main house or you rented out the main house, that house has its own parking situation already set up for you. So you don't have to worry about that. So this makes more sense to me as opposed to subdividing the lot. And I think most of the time, let's just say you wanted to put a larger house behind the main house, the city's probably not gonna let you do that. There's ways you might be able to finagle it, but most likely, most cities, most counties, even here in Los Angeles, don't like having the smaller unit in front. And so it's gonna be a lot more difficult and probably a lot more costly to build a second house. right? Because then you're gonna have to get an easement for the driveway and it just gets really messy. So if it was me, again, what I would do is you got the main house here, you got the garage that's detached, you convert that into an ADU, you can add an attached ADU if you wanted to, and then you can build that detached unit also in the back there up to 1,200 square feet. And you know what, you're probably looking at least $10,000 a month in rent right now. So this is definitely, you know, in California, not all investments make sense, but for something like this, I could see a lot of investors being interested in going this route. All right, let's go back to the backyard again, because we haven't showed you everything yet. And we kind of left this for you as a surprise that we kind of talked about in the beginning of the video. And if you stayed around this long, well, you're gonna get a kick out of this. So this is something that you don't find very often. I think I've probably sold a couple homes over the years that have it. But definitely out here in the North San Fernando Valley, you don't have it. Normally I would send my camera guys in first, right? Because why would you want to send the real estate agent down there first? Take a look at this. You got a full unfinished basement down there for storage. And all right, going down the steps. Right, and there's actually a decent amount of natural light in here. They have a few windows. So it'd be a great place, like they have it, to have an extra refrigerator, right? Storage area, craft room area, right? I mean, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to be living down here, but it's a neat place, you know, if you were to kind of finish it off, and you could easily do that. So it kind of gives you some really unique perspective on this house.
Thank you for joining me on today's home tour. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you would do with this incredible North Hills property. Would you build an ADU, create a gated compound, or design your dream backyard? Drop your ideas in the comments below. And if you're ready to unlock the full potential of a lot like this, make sure you reach out. I'd love to help you bring your vision to life. I'm Scott Himmelstein with the Scott Himmelstein Group, and we hope you enjoyed this home tour.